Welcome to Unit 1, Lesson 12. We are going to be doing circles today. We're going to be going over circles. And I wanted to start out with the basic equation of a circle. All right? First of all, a circle is always in the format of x squared plus y squared equals r squared. All right? Sometimes there's numbers next to our x and y, and sometimes they're not. But if we have a basic format like this, okay, if there are no numbers next to my x and y, I should always know that the center of the circle is 0, 0, okay? And the radius, all right, the radius obviously is always r. Keep in mind, they don't give me r, they give me r squared here. So we'll have to figure out what r is simply by taking the square root of r squared. What does that mean? If I have r squared, but I want r, whatever value that is, I take the square root of it because those cancel, okay? We'll do some problems like that if that seems a little confusing, but we'll do some problems. Now, more times than not, you're going to see a problem written like this, okay? In the center of my circle, just like the vertex form of a parabola, the vertex was h and k, correct? The center of the circle is also h and k, all right? H and k is the center of our circle. Now, keep in mind, anytime something's in parentheses and I take it out of the parentheses, I have to flip that, meaning that's negative h, but I would have positive h for my x value. That's negative k, but I would have positive k. Those two values, if you flip them, will give you the center of the circle. Then again, I get my radius right there. So I've got a lot of scribbling here. And that's what it looks like. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these two basic ideas, and we are going to go ahead and start doing some of these problems. All right. So graphing circles. Write the center and the radius for each circle below, then graph it on the coordinate plane that they've given us. So let me scroll down here a little bit. All right. Okay, I have an h and a k, but I know I flip the values when I pull them out. So it's a positive 7 and a negative 2. That's the center. All right. Now, the radius is not 64. The radius squared is 64. So if I say the radius squared is 64, in order to find the radius, I need to take the square root. So that's my r, and I take the square root, and the square root of 64 is 8. So when I do these, I'm going to say, okay, well, I need to take the square root of 64, and that's 8. So my radius is 8. So now that we have our information, let's graph this. I'm going to put my center at 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh my God, that's going to go way too far. So I'm going to count these by 2s. All right? If I have 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, 7 falls right in between. And I'm going down negative 2. Okay, so I'm going to put a point right there. That's 7, negative 2. Now the radius is 8. Okay, now keep in mind each one of these lines count as 2, correct? So I've got to go 8 to the right. This is how I graph the circle. I go 8 to the right, so 2, 4, 6, 8 would be right here. I go 8 up, 2, 4, 6, 8, right here. To the left, 2, 4, 6, 8. And down, 2, 4, 6, 8. Here. And I'm going to have to connect these in a fashion of a circle. All right? Please do not connect them with straight lines. That is not a circle. That is a diamond. Okay, a circle is obviously curved and should look like somewhat of a circle when you're done with it. All right, let's look at this next one. I don't have anything next to my x and y, so my center is 0, 0. That's perfect. Love it. The radius is a square root of 16, which is 4. Perfect. Here's the origin, and I go 4 up. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 down. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 4 to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I connect these in a fashion of a circle. Okay, bam, that's perfect. Radius 4, center at the origin. Not too bad. Oh boy, so completing the square. Our little friend just never seems to go away. In this example, where we have graphed a circle so far, we are used to seeing the equation of a circle written in standard form. That's this version right here. We're used to seeing it written in standard form. However, it does not always have to be presented in this form. Sometimes they will give it to you in general form, and it will be your job to manipulate the equation to get it into standard form. I've seen this happen once, maybe twice, where you have to complete the square to get the general form into standard form. All right? And it's really not that bad. If you're good at completing the square, this will be fine. If you're not, this is extra practice, and you need to get good at it. So let's go through the steps on how to write the equation of a circle in standard form using completing the square. Okay, so we have these kind of steps down here, and you can take notes anywhere you want. Okay, whatever you need to write to yourself to help you remember this, fine. These are all just general guidelines, the way someone else had thought them to be, and they're pretty good. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to rearrange the equation by grouping all the x terms and all the y terms together. So I have x squared minus 8x. So I have x squared minus 8x. Now I have y squared plus 6y. So plus y squared plus 6y. All right? And I still have this plus 24 by itself. That's the first step I want to do. Now, just like completing the square, my next step is I want to move the constant to the right-hand side. So I'm going to get rid of this 24, and I'm going to move it to the right-hand side. So I have x squared minus 8x plus y squared plus 6y equals negative 24. Nothing too crazy. Now this, my friends, is what I call the brain trust, the money maker for completing the square. I have to take the b value, cut it in half, and square it. And that's what I add to both sides. But please note, I don't only have to do that for my x group, I also have to do that for my y group. So, for my x group, I take negative 8, which is my b value, cut it in half, and square it. That's negative 4 squared, which is 16. I'm going to do the same thing for the y's. This is the b value for my y. It's 6. So I take 6, cut it in half, square it. That's 3 squared, which is 9. Now, many of you might be able to go from this point right here right to here. And that's fine. It's not that difficult to math. But this value in parentheses is really important. So that's why I write that extra step. This number, eventually, you will see it pop up somewhere else. Okay? So, let's get rid of those highlights. And let's go on to the fifth step here. Well, actually, let's not forget we want to add this value to each side. So whatever we got from doing our brain trust here, like see this 16? See this 9? We need to add those to both sides. Okay? So let's do that. For my x's, I now have x squared minus 8x plus 16. Here's my 16 here. I've added it here. For my y's, I have plus y squared plus 6y plus 9. I've added my 9 here. But what I do to one side of the equation, remember this was negative 24, right? I also have to do to the other side. I still have to add 16 because I did it here. And I still have to add 9 because I did that here. And if I do that whole thing right, extend this page so we got a little bit of space here. I now have, okay, if I add these together, I'm actually going to have 1 equals. By adding my 16 and my 9, I have completed the square for both my x terms and my y terms. What does that mean? X, and it's either plus or minus something. Remember how I highlighted these things here? That's important because whatever in parentheses here with my x's goes in parentheses here. Plus my y, something goes in parentheses with my y. Whatever was in parentheses here before I actually squared it, which is a positive 3, goes in parentheses here. There you go. I have now completed the square for my x and my y, and I've got an equation of a circle. And now I can state my center. My center, don't forget, it's my h and my k, right? I got to flip those. So it's positive 4, negative 3. My radius, yep, I'll spell that right in 1 second. Radius. My radius, I got to take the square root, which is 1. All right? So if you need to pause this, you need to go back and look at some of these steps again, I suggest you do that. But if you're good at completing the square, which a lot of my students are starting to get good at it, this is no big deal. You're just completing the square twice. That's all you're doing. All right, so as we move on to the notes, it's practice with completing the square. All right, we're going to practice these. If you want to pause these and do them yourself, go ahead. I'm going to go through the first one, at kind of the same, slow explanation rate. Then I'll start to increase the speed at which I go through these. And you should check your answers if you're going to pause this now and do them first. You can always check your answers later. So here we go. I'm going to get my x's together. I have x squared plus 2x. I'm going to get my y's together. Plus y squared plus 18y. And I'm going to go ahead and subtract this 1 right now. Equals negative 1. Okay? Now, here's my b value for my x. Here's my b value for my y. 2, I cut it in half, and I square it. That's 1 squared, which means 1. I'm going to add to both sides. All right? My 18 for my y's. I cut it in half, and I square it. All right, that's going to be 9 squared, which is 81. Okay, so let me take those two numbers. This is for my x. I've got x squared plus 2x plus 1. Okay? And now let me do the y's. Plus y squared plus 18y plus 81 equals. I had negative 1, but now I want to still add 1 because I did that here. I got to do it to the other side. And add 81 because I did that to the left side. Well, my positive and negative 1 on the right are going to cancel. And I'm going to end up with just 81 on my right-hand side. I have completed the squares, friends. This is x something something squared. What's in parentheses here? A positive 1 goes in parentheses here. Plus y times plus or minus something something squared. What was in parentheses here for my y's? Positive 9. Goes in parentheses here with my y. All right, now we're done. That's the equation. So what's my center? It's my h and my k. I just got to flip the signs. Negative 1, negative 9. What's my radius? Well, here's the radius squared. So the square root of 81 is 9. Perfect. The equation and the center and the radius. The more you do it, the more comfortable you'll be at it. All right? Now it's on to the next one, number 2. Okay, my x's, I have x squared minus 4x. My y's, I have plus y squared minus 14y. I'm going to get rid of the 17. It should equal negative 17. All right? The b values. Here's my b for my x. Here's my b for my y. Negative 4 over 2. I square it. That's like saying negative 2 squared, which is 4. Negative 14 for my y. If I cut that in half and square it, that's like negative 7 squared, which is 49. All right? Not too shabby. Let's rewrite this. I got x squared minus 4x plus 4, okay, plus my y squared minus 14y plus 49 equals negative 17. And I still need to add these numbers to the right side because I've already added them to the left side, didn't I? 49 and 4 is 53. But let's just do plus 4 plus 49. All right? So, 32, 36. I now have, that totals 36. I have completed the squares. X plus or minus something squared. What's ever in parentheses here? Negative 2. Okay? Plus y plus or minus something squared. What's ever in parentheses here? Negative 7. I mean, it's the same thing over and over and over. So, what's the center of my circle? It's my h and my k, right? But I got to flip the signs. So it's positive 2, positive 7. My radius, it's the square root of 36, which is 6. Equation, center, radius. Bam. Beautiful. All righty, righty, righty. I'm going to need some more space. Number 3. Interesting. I don't have a 1x squared, and I don't have a 1y squared, but let's see what happens here. Okay? If you didn't do 3 or 4, watch me do 3. And then after I do 3, I think you'll understand how to do 4. So if you want to pause it and do 4 on your own at that point, you can. But in the meantime, let's just start doing math. 4x squared minus 8x. I'm going to do this the same way. I'm going to group my x's and y's together. Now I have 4y squared, 16y. So plus 4y squared plus 16y. And I'm going to go ahead and move this over. Equals negative 4. Okay. Now, here we go. I'm looking at this, and I want to take half of my b value, which is negative 8 and 16. But I'm not going to do that just yet, because in completing the square, we want this to be a 1x squared. We want this to be a 1y squared. So how would I do that? If you look, every single term can be divided by 4. That works out so beautiful for us. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to divide everything by 4. And I've got x squared minus 2x plus y squared plus 4 equals negative 1. Look how perfect that turned out. All right. Now I'm going to take my b values. Yeah. Oh, my God. Forgot my y. Now I'm going to take my b values, cut them in half, and square them, and continue the same process. So at this point, if you were stuck here, at this point, it's the exact same as everything else. So if you wanted to pause it and continue it, you can. Take negative 2, cut it in half, and square it. That's negative 1 squared, which is a positive 1. I take 4, cut it in half, and square it. That's like 2 squared, which is 4. Now I add those to both sides, and I just finish off completing the square. So I've got x squared minus 2x plus 1 plus y squared plus 4y plus 4 equals, I have negative 1 plus 1 plus 4. And if I did this right, these will combine to be 4. Nice. It's x something something squared. That something something is right there, minus 1. Plus y something something squared, positive 2. There you go. I mean, it just, holy smokes. It's the same process over. It's almost dull and boring because it's the same thing over and over again. My center, my h and my k, going to flip those signs. It's positive 1, negative 2. My radius, well, my radius squared is 4, so I want the square root of that, 2. Holy poopsicle. Same deal. So as I look at number 4, I think what tripped you up with 3 and 4 might have been this process right here, where I wanted to get rid of the numbers in front of the x squareds. I wanted to make them 1. They were currently 4. If I look here, I'm probably going to have to divide everything by 5. Okay? So you want to go ahead and do that, go ahead, pause it, do it. I'm about to do it now. 5x squared plus 20x plus 5y squared. I don't see another y, and that's fine. Okay, now I add 5 to both sides, equals 5. All right, don't freak out, we're okay. Let me explain to you how we're okay. First of all, I'm going to divide everything by 5. And I've got x squared plus 4x plus y squared equals 1. Now I need to take the b values. Here's my b value for my x. 4, cut it in half, square it. That's 2 squared. That's 4. My y value doesn't have a b at all. So I'm not going to have to do that. My b value is 0. So there is nothing I have to do for y squared. Okay? Woo-hoo-hoo. Let's add 4 to both sides. X squared plus 4x plus 4. Okay? Plus y squared, because I have nothing to add to that, equals 1. If I added 4 here, I must add 4 here. Okay, I've completed the square now. X something something squared plus Ooh, I'm going to leave this alone for a second, equals 5. What was in parentheses here goes in parentheses here, plus 2. Okay, but what about this y squared? It's just y squared. If you are having trouble grasping that, let's say my b value for y is 0, because I have none, right? I have nothing with a y next to it, 0. I take half of 0, and I square it. That's 0 squared, which would be 0. So I would literally add nothing to both sides, which means it doesn't change anything below here. Which means what would go in parentheses with my y? A 0. Y minus 0 is still y. Okay? So you still end up with this. Okay? You still end up with this, which is A-okay. That's fine. Because when I go to find my center and my radius, well, my center is h and k. My k is 0. I have nothing that I'm adding to y squared. My h would be -2. And my radius would be the square root of 5, which, guess what? That doesn't turn out to be a nice whole number. So why don't we just leave it square root of 5? Because you can do stuff like that in math. And it's fun. And we're done with that. So after doing those 4 problems, which was a lot of writing, we're going to stop here. Okay? We're going to stop here, and we have just a little bit left, which will be in the next video, which will be on part 2. Okay, there you go. It's a lot of writing we just did. But guess what? We nailed it, and we're good. We're good at what we do. So I will see you for Unit 1, Lesson 12, Part 2 later.